This series of videos are really the core of what you need to examine to make sure that you're building a good foundation. And if ignored, they really are going to be the cause of why you don't stick with something or why something doesn't make a change. So they are the fundamental steps in making any positive change in your life. And the very first one we'll look at is I call self-talk. And it's really just the conversations you have with yourself. And it seems sort of silly to be examining your self-talk, but it's so crucial, and you'll find it interesting when you start to get into examining what you're actually saying to yourself. It can be even a little bit horrifying. The common thing is there's so much talk about bullying and the way people treat one another, and it's all very important information, but we never take the time to examine what we're saying to ourselves. And if you want to talk about bullying, there is quite often no bigger bully than the one that is talking to yourself. So you have to look at what you're saying on a regular basis, and you really have to challenge the validity of what you're saying. Can you say it in a better way? You know, if it is even true, because what you're saying to yourself not only builds your belief system, it also triggers and builds the emotional body, as just kind of all the regular feelings you're have throughout a day really come from that source of what you're saying to yourself. So you have to examine. I always ask people to look at what it is you're saying when things don't go so well. Like I use the example of a mom getting ready to go to work with young kids, and they're behind, and just seems like one of those days that nothing is going well. And as they're then heading to work, what is it they're saying to themselves? Because quite often it will be very condescending, failure-related type comments. The same goes for anybody who has done anything that it just doesn't work out how they want, or they have goals for things they want to achieve in the day and they don't get there. You know, you forget something. Just really when those little typical life things happen that aren't happening perfectly, examine what you're saying to yourself. And usually it is very harsh, condescending, even berating type comments. And we think that's normal because we've done it for so long, but challenging these can be one of the most motivating things you'll ever do. And what's amazing is, think about it. You know that feeling of a bully? Imagine somebody talking to you in this way from the outside coming in, and how that is so demeaning and crippling, and how it pulls and drains you of energy. Well, that's what you're doing to yourself on a regular basis. So we don't want to be doing that. But obviously, we don't want to be doing that. But the only way to change that is to actually catch yourself every day when you're in that process of saying those things, and start to say to yourself, how can I turn this around? So here's a really good trick of trying to decide what it is you do want to be saying to yourself. Is when you have these moments and you realize that you're saying stuff like, you're always late, you always screw up, why can't you remember everything, why can't you do things right? When you're saying these kind of comments, catch yourself, notice. Now you know this isn't being productive. So there's a point where it's already done. You don't need to knock yourself down for it. So you have to imagine how you do want to feel so that you can avoid it for next time. And the simplest tip to do this is imagine that somebody in your family that you love very much, or a really good friend that you always want to support, or somebody that you know is down on themselves and how you would talk to them. Imagine them saying this to you about themselves. I want you to decide what it is you would say back to them. So take yourself out of the equation. Imagine you're supporting somebody else, and say, what can I say to myself that's a little more encouraging, a little more supportive? You know, how could I make them feel okay about this simple little thing that didn't go so well, so that next time they'll feel confident and feel equipped to do it better? That's how you want to improve your self-talk. And it really only comes from every chance you get catching yourself and changing the narrative, and do it many times throughout the day. We have 60 to 70,000 at a minimum thoughts a day. And you know that most of those aren't very encouraging? Many aren't positive, and we can be sure that most aren't giving us the love and support that we need. So we need to change those. Now imagine changing 60 to 70 thoughts, that's a lot, but a lot of them are the same repeated thoughts over and over again. So if you can catch some of the ones that you know you consistently say to yourself, like, I'm lazy, I'm always late, I can't get organized, those are the thoughts you want to change. And so when you talk about something like, say, you don't feel organized all the time, then make sure you're looking for the opportunity that you are organized and say to yourself, way to go. We did it that time. We're going to continue to do it more. The more you can acknowledge something that's going right and remind yourself verbally, whether it's internally or out loud, you are adding a boost, a memory, a conversation that creates thoughts and feelings that is very encouraging, that your body will absorb and then look for opportunities to do that again. So don't be afraid for positive reinforcement. That positive reinforcement settles in your bones, it settles in your cell memory, and it helps you identify opportunities to do that again more. So self-talk is the very basic, fundamental encouragement, piece of energy, opportunity for change that we can make. So catch yourself all day long and try to make a difference.